broadcast for shooters, hunters, and gun enthusiasts. This is the Firearms Radio Network. The bandwidth for this episode of Gun Guy Radio is sponsored by Patriot Patch Company. PatriotPatch.co.
Welcome to episode 247 of Gun Guy Radio. This is a podcast that shines a positive light on the firearms lifestyle. I'm your host, Jake Challen, with co-host Zach Carlson. This is your dose of positive firearms talk without the politics. Hey, Zach, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
And we have special guest Aaron from the Off-Road Podcast, also from the Firearms Radio Network. Hey, Aaron.
How's it going?
It's going great. So Zach and I ran out of things to talk about, so we had Aaron on. But first, Patriot Patch Company helps make this episode possible. You can join the Patch of the Month Club. We have an awesome wrapped and strapped zombie. No, he's a mummy. No, I don't. Maybe both. Patch of this month, patriotpatch.co. You get a unique patch, artwork, and sticker mailed to your mailbox once a month from the Patch of the Month Club. And we also have some awesome Halloween trick-or-treater guys, AK version, AR version you can pick. And we have some new, I think we're going to drop some pre-orders for some brand new Halloween patches this week. So check it out, patriotpatch.co.
You know that Stay Strapped one? That Stay Strapped one let me enlighten my son on the difference between a MAC-10 and a Uzi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's like, oh, they got two Uzis. I was like, no. That's an Uzi, and that is a Mac either 10 or 11.
Yep, very cool. So check it out, patriotpatch.co. And Zach, where can people find you online?
Oh, when available, YouTube. Actually, this week, you could go to the Lone Wolf Distributors Facebook page and watch an hour and a half of me talking, blabbering on about stuff. And we did a full, we did a big event and did a live stream from the office with the new owner. And, Lone Wolf recently sold a few months ago. And we did a tour of the facility and everything. So if you're curious how the sausage is made, well, there you go. Go see it.
You make sausage?
Sausage, more like, but yeah.
Very cool. And I guess while we're at it, Aaron, where can people find out where the Off-Road Podcast is and your social and all that?
We're on most of the socials. We're on Facebook and what are the other ones? We're not on Twitter. Instagram, yeah, Facebook and Instagram. Actually, I think we are on Twitter, but we just don't tweet. We're on the YouTubes. We're trying to get over that 1,000 mark. I think we're at like 940, 938, somewhere around there. Almost able to monetize. So we're getting close. And
Zach.
Oh, did I freeze? I'm sorry. That whole 1,000 viewer monetization thing screws you because they don't do it right away. That was the big deal. I had mine too, because you had to have so much views, but then you had to have so many subscribers. I got the subscribers and it took like 4 months for them to actually turn it on. It was so infuriating.
That is frustrating. Yeah.
All right. So let's first talk about what we did this week. We're going to go through each of us and then we'll talk a little bit more of what Aaron's been up to in guns and stuff. So Aaron, what have you been up to this week?
Well, 2 nights ago at about 8:45, I was like, well, let's start watching. So I bought a Polymer 80 kit from a local gun shop probably like 3 months ago. And I've been slowly trying to find the parts to go on it. And I finally got the lower parts kit about a week ago. So I was like, well, I haven't figured out how any of this works. So I'm going to watch a YouTube video. And I watched a short YouTube video about how to mill it out. And it was like going to be really fast. So I watched another one to see if there's any other ways. I watched 3 YouTube videos. And 5 minutes later, I was out in the barn getting the tools so I could make my 80%, 100%. And it probably took me 15 minutes at the very most to do the work I needed to get that plastic off of there. So I was like, well, that went really fast. And let me watch some more videos on how to put it together. And probably an hour and 15 minutes from when I first started looking at videos on how to do it till the very end is how long it took to put it together. I was pretty surprised. It went together pretty quick.
Did it work?
Unfortunately, the next day I went to shoot it and had lots of issues. I think the only thing I didn't have happen was a squib. So failure to feed. I had bullets go sideways in the magazine. I don't know how that worked. It was a Magpul magazine. failure to eject. I had stovepipes. The slide never returned all the way to the front. And if I didn't hold my thumb on the slide lock, it would lock it back every time I shot. So, yeah, it was, it's great. It's my first Glock experience, so I'm pretty happy.
Oh, that's a good first step. So you go from the most reliable gun in the world, and then you're like, hey, a DIY version of this has to be better, and then you get the most unreliable gun in the world. Yeah, okay.
It's pretty sweet. So, I talked to some friends, and I've got I had the wrong, ejector in there. It sounds like I had the ejector for the 40 cal instead of the 9mm in there, because the parts kit came with both. And then for the slide lock, the little spring wasn't underneath the pin. It was over top of the pin. So I got that flipped down there, and
yep. Well,
we'll see.
Here's the thing. This is like one of those things that people think that Glocks are like ARs, and ARs are fairly simple, and they've been standard for, 50 years or whatever. And the stuff can go together. And if you get it together, it pretty much works. Like, it's not one of those things where I don't think I've ever had an AR-15 that I had to finesse to make it work. I didn't have to massage it in certain places. If the parts go together, in my experience, they've generally just kind of worked. But these DIY guns just seems like, people don't understand what they're getting into. They do work a lot of the time. But I've got 6 of those Poly 80s, and every one of them had to be touched by our armors at work. Just because the parts fitments, there's tolerance stacking. Parts don't fit always the same, and they all and they work fine once you get them going. Like, once you get through that hurdle and you get to the other side, you should be okay from there on out. But people think, and they get frustrated that, like, they slapped all these parts together and, they got their Dremel out and it didn't work. And, well, yeah, surprise, surprise. But, I didn't even use tools on mine. I just literally used a razor blade and cut off all that plastic. And then I shaved it down with a file, and I was pretty much done. Like, it was no big deal. Yeah. You got the, flush cut guys there. Yeah. Perfect.
I call them nippers. Yeah. They work good. And then a flat file.
Exactly. And that works for the most time. And a lot of the problems we've had with those is where the trigger bar, when you take the slide off, you look straight down on the gun, the trigger bar follows the right side of the frame, and then it kicks in and goes back to go towards the connector. That little Z bend right in the trigger bar, a lot of times will hit polymer before the trigger actually goes off. So if you clearance it a little bit in that plastic, they usually work better. And almost every one of them, the rails on mine have had to be lapped with lapping compound, because they're not a exact science. They're not, you're putting them in yourself. So it's not exactly
interesting,
precision.
Very cool. So, Zach, what have you been up to this week?
I've been ranting about P80s, apparently. No, speaking of Glocks, this is actually, it does pertain to P80. If you are a P80 owner, you know that they don't fit in holsters like regular guns holsters. They don't fit in Glock holsters, because the trigger guard, they went goofy shaped on the trigger guard. And, along that same line, I have a CZ P10 fetish recently. So I've got 3 P10s. I've got 2 Cs and an S, and I needed holsters for them. I've been using, Safari Land holsters that are the universal fit ones, or but I'm using those on battle belts with the fork system. And I kind of thought, man, I don't have a really good inside the waistband holster, or even really a good outside the waistband holster that doesn't utilize like a battle belt setup. So I was like, I'm going to be on the hunt here. So I think I've ordered like 5 holsters now. And I don't know if you've recently looked. I don't understand why holsters are so expensive. Why are holsters $100? I don't know, but I just spent a boatload of money on holsters, and I've only got a couple in so far, but I will give you I'm going to do a video on these, I think, because it's worthy of this, because other people should avoid it. Because the whole thing with P10s originally, when they came out a few years ago, is, they fit all these Glock 19 holsters or Glock holsters. They should fit just fine. I've got a Rubbermaid tub full of Glock holsters, and they only fit in maybe 1 or 2 of them. So it really depends. So don't just go blindly thinking that this will fit in your holster. So I ordered a tier 1 concealment, or tier 1 concealed inside the waistband holster. It's supposed to be really, really nice. It's not great. The problem is, I'll bring it on the next show, but like where the Kydex goes around your slide, they do this big slash cut on a 45. So your muzzle and slide actually stick past the holster. So it digs into your butt cheek when you're trying to put it on, and it's just not comfortable. I don't get it. Even my S, which is a short slide, it still protrudes there and makes it like, on the guns that I have dots on, which is the S and one of the C's, I have tall suppressor sights. So you have this like finger sticking out of the slide that's not protected by any sheathing of Kydex right against your skin. It's like, this does not make sense to me. But, so I was really disappointed about that one because it wasn't cheap. And then I got wait, they
didn't have a drop down selector for butt cheek type?
No, I should, that would be nice. I'd just say fat and then see what I get. But then, for how polarizing T-Rex Arms is in the industry and all of his videos and everything, I ordered one of their Ragnarok outside the waistband holsters that utilizes the Safariland fork, and it's a light bearing holster. So that I put the Surefire X300 on it. That holster is amazing. Like, I really, really like it. It wasn't cheap either. I think it was like $114 or something like that. But it's really good quality. I got multicam to match the camo on the P10 but it fits good. It's rigid. Like, sometimes Kydex gets a little squish to it. This is a nice rigid pattern. The bolt holes all lined up. Everything was great for the fork. They give you hardware and everything. And then I actually bought one of their thigh straps too. So I went totally Laura Croft on the whole deal. And, even their thigh strap, cause I use that on my battle belt. I never had one before, but I was getting issues where I'd try to draw real quick and you get a little bit of pull out on the holster when you try to go straight up. So I bought a thigh strap for it, and like their strap is kind of bungee, which is kind of cool. And on the inside of the strap, it has that kind of like almost like a silicone liner to it. So it grips your fabric, which is pretty cool. I didn't even think about that, but it was like $18 for that. So that wasn't too bad. I didn't think. So for as much crap as they get, and I was a little hesitant to order from them just because of all the polarizing, talk and memes about them. I gave them a shot, and so far that's really good. But I've got 2 more holsters coming. I think I've got a JM Kydex one and some other one I don't remember the name of right now, but I'll update you when I get other holsters. But I cannot believe how much of a pain in the butt it is to get a decent holster for a non-common gun like a P10. If you got a Glock, you got anything. Oh, I remember the other holster. I got another holster too. Sorry. It was the Filster Floodlight. So the Filster Floodlight is a inside the waistband, ambidextrous light bearing holster, like universal holster. And it comes with the pulled it out loops, and it comes with struts and everything. So it's a really well, packaged, item. I don't like it. It is like putting a hardcover book down your pants. Like, it is, it's because it has to be a little bit bigger than the normal one because it's supposed to be accommodating all these different guns. I don't know what it is about it, but I tried the pull the dot loops. I can't get used to them. And then I put the struts on it, and I just have a regular crossbreed holsters, leather belt. The loops would not like get over my belt loops. It was or the belt itself, just very frustrating. So I'm going to give that one a try a little bit later, but, I lost patience with it pretty quick. But so far the T-Rex ones, so far so good.
Cool. Yeah. Holsters, there's such a wide spectrum and price for them. It's kind of crazy. I mean, it's like you're looking at basically the same Kydex holster in a lot of cases. And for a couple guns I've got, I just went to eBay and bought one, and it's been fine. I'm like,
do you mean just as good?
Just as good. Yeah. Just as good.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to do that.
I'm happy to hear you say that. Well, I maybe happy to hear isn't the right phrase, but I'm glad that I found out that not all Glock holsters fit the P80 stuff. So we'll find out.
Oh yeah, look at the trigger guard. You got the front of that trigger guard is not the same shape. It does not fit at all.
Well, you've got a heat gun, right? You just heat up that trigger guard area.
Yeah.
And shove the P80 in there, and you'll be good.
Yep. And then kiss that retention goodbye.
Just make sure it's not loaded.
You'll actually notice a lot of, there's holsters manufacturers that are fitting the P80 specifically now. Now, if you're looking for just like a range belt or something like that, I use that Safariland GLS system where it's got a little thumb, like your middle finger hits the lock as you're drawing it. Not like a Safariland, but a regular one. And it fits the P80s fine. It works just fine. So that if you needed just a universal, but like for inside the waistband concealed carry, you're gonna have to look for one probably that's more specific to it.
Yeah, I probably won't carry this one like that. This will only be outside the waistband on a battle belt or something. I need a burner.
Yeah, then I would totally suggest the Safariland GLS holsters or the Blackhawk Omnivores are good too for that.
Okay.
Wait, are ghost guns legal in Oregon?
I was going to ask you that because they're not in Washington technically.
Not anymore, aren't they?
No.
Yeah, no, they are in Oregon, thankfully.
Well, yeah, how else are they going to fund all the riots there? Jeez, Jay, come on. Portland is the epicenter.
So I'll get into my non-gun segment. What I've been up to this week is my homesteading corner. Yay, homesteading. It'll be fun. Let's get a place in the country and live like they did 100 years ago. It'll be great. And repair your own well. No, not so much. So we're actually fortunate, I guess, well, as it turns out, where we have a well and we have what they call rural water, where they, in the 70s, they ran water to all these farms in like the southeastern part of South Dakota and maybe more. But because in general, the well water up here is just really, really hard and has tons of minerals in it and is really not great for animals or people to drink for the most part. So in the 70s, they did this big thing where they put all these, it's like you're in the city, but you're not. You're in the middle of nowhere in the country and you have rural water. So it's like city water, but, not. Anyways, so the house is on that rural water where, we pay, it averages like $80 a month for that, which isn't really cheap. But it's really good water and it's actually pumped and filtered up from the Missouri River. Anyways, but this house also has what some might refer to as like livestock well or something. So it's like a kind of a shallow well, that you just use for your animals and stuff. And all the hydrants, all the, garden hose hydrants and everything are on that well. So when we got the place, we're like, oh, this is great. Basically all the water outside is free water. The kids can play in it. We can use it to water the garden. We can water the animals with it, until the pump goes out. And the pump went out, I don't know, like 2 months ago. And it quit working. I didn't know what went out. So I didn't have time to mess with it then, so I just hooked up a hose to the house, which is on the rural water, and made the kids cart the water back and forth for the chickens and stuff for a couple months here. They love that. Anyways, I finally got around to fixing the well, and first of all, it's got like a big opening on the top of it that you can climb into, and then there's like, it's not quite 6 foot deep, that you drop into, cause my head hits the top. So it's like, I don't know, 5'8", like 4 foot across, circular like chamber that you drop down into. And then the head of the well, or the opening for the well, is at the bottom of that. And then there's like tiles sunk down. It turns out to be about 60 feet below that a deep well submersible pump is hung with a cord and wires going down to it, and then a water pipe coming up out of it. And then there's electrical circuit breaker and well control box in that like workspace area just below the ground. So all that electrical stuff is all super corroded because everything in there was super condensated like all the time. And so I replaced the control box thinking that was going to be it, because I figured that was it for sure. Because to take the wires out of the control box, I had to take a drill and drill out the screws just to get the wires to release, because there were no screw heads left really, because it was just all rust. So I did that, replaced the control box, but all that would do was hum. And then the circuit breaker box is in there too. And I'm like, well, maybe it's that. So I take it all apart, clean the connections and everything. And finally I determined, well, it's got to be the pump down, hanging 60 feet down in the well. Well, I didn't know how deep it was at that point. So I get the wife to help me pull this thing out by hand. And so we pull it out, and luckily it was only 60 feet, because I was told it was well over 100 feet, but I'm not sure. I'm not
What's
sure.
it hanging by? Just
I'm not sure we could have pulled it out. Well, it was hanging by a very thin rope, and luckily that held. I have since replaced it with a much thicker nylon, waterproof nylon rope. But yeah, it was quite the process pulling that out, because you got to like thread the needle where the well drops, like through a 4-inch hole in the bottom of that chamber underground, and then you got to pull it up out of the hole on the ground. And so it's kind of an ordeal pulling that all out. But we get pulled out, and that pump is just like so generally deep water well pumps are stainless steel outside. They all look the same pretty much. And then they're in the middle is where the jets suck in the water. Well, the middle and the top was just like oozing like Statue of Liberty green out of them. It looked like stalactites coming out of it that were green or something. Just like all the innards that were copper must have been just super corroded and oozing out. So I'm like, well, it's a pump. That's what's wrong with it, obviously. And it turns out that control box and that pump are only 10 years old, and they look like they were 50 years old. Oof. Yeah. And so anyways, I get a new pump, get it installed, splice in the wire, and I get looking at this wire, it's over 60 feet of wire, and it looks like somebody like pulled someone over a cliff with it, because the sections of wire are just like worn down into the copper. Like one section was worn all the way through a copper wire. So like best I could figure out, the previous time this pump was pulled out, someone just pulled it up with the wire and scraped it all the way up the concrete. 'Cause it was just terrible. So I ended up patching that, which took forever, because at that time I couldn't find any place to buy well pump wire. And I installed a new pump and everything. Wife and I and oldest kid, we, rope it back down in there, which that wasn't easy either, and wire it all back up and go to fire it up, and nothing, just nothing. And so I test everything, and I got power to the box. I got power to the control box, power to the pressure switch on the, because there's also like a 10-gallon pressure tank in there too for the water. Power to that switch, power everywhere. So I'm like, well, I don't know what's going on. So we end up pulling it back up and end up finding a place with well pump wire. I'm like, maybe it's a wire, maybe I missed a spot that was broken or something. So replace that, put it back down in there, double check all the connections and everything again, and it still doesn't work. So we've had this thing up and down more times than I ever wanted to. I'm like, at that point, I'm like, it's got to be the new pump. The new pump has to be defective. That's the only thing that makes sense. And I even tested the new pump before I sent it down that second time. And at first it would like kind of go, like kind of, intermittent come on. And then after that, it would come on every time. I tested it like 10 times. It'd come on every time reliably. I'm like, well, it seems okay. But then once it was in there, it pumped water for like 3 minutes and quit. So we pull that out. I get another new pump, put that on, get that back down in there, and it finally works.
Okay. All right. I gotta understand. So how much did you spend on this whole ordeal?
Lots of blood, sweat, and tears.
Did you ever at once consider bringing a well guy out to look at it?
Yeah, that would be thousands of dollars, Zach. I fixed this for...
How much is your time worth?
I fixed this, apparently not much. I don't know. I fixed it for under $500. So, and they would have charged me at least $500 in materials, if not more. So it's done. I'm glad. I still need to relocate the breaker box out of there. I actually got a well pump that doesn't require a control box, so that's one unit I can eliminate from breaking in the future. And then I'm going to relocate the breaker box out of there, and it should be a lot more reliable moving forward. But I'm thinking maybe every 10 years I still have to pull that out and replace the pump on it. But I did the break-even analysis. Like, what if we ran the rural water out to the hydrants and just didn't use the well, And it doesn't really map out as far as money goes. Cause 500 over 10 years, you're not saving any money at all. So
I guess I've never, go ahead.
I was going to say, you got to get a humidifier down in your little bunker. Cause I thought you were going to turn that into like a sweet bug out bunker or something like that. You get a humidifier down there. It'll dry it out. Then your control panel and all your electrical will be fine.
I think you mean a dehumidifier?
Dehumidifier, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry, dehumidifier.
So wait, what's in that room? Is it like a cistern or is it just an empty air room?
No, it's basically like a 4 foot across, like piece of tile turned, long ways up with a concrete top on it. Wells around here, they're just like, you'll see the wellhead in the ground, and then a lot of times they'll put like a little roof, like a 1 foot roof laying over it, but that you never have them underground. Well, I've never seen them underground, but I also don't know how wells really actually work. That's the one question I had is, so there's power and rope going down to a pump, and then the pump has so that tube is not full of water then at all times, right? Is it sending up a hose? How does it get from the pump all the way up? Yeah, so there's a 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch hose, black hose that goes all the way up from the pump. And the pump has a built-in backflow valve in it. So generally, after the pump runs the first time, it's going to be full of water, that whole tube, all the way up through your pipes and everything. It's always going to be full of water because that pump keeps it from running back out.
But not the 60-foot casing. That doesn't get filled with water. It's just the hose that goes down with the pump.
Well, there is no casing. So this is unique where there's the 4 foot by like 5'8" chamber that is like your access area just underground. And then under that you have a 4 inch access hole going down, but that opens up into like a 2 foot wide set of tile going all the way down. So it's a big opening going all the way down. Like you can look down and see the water and everything through that hole.
But that's not full of water, right?
That's probably about a third full of water.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's not all the way full of water. It's kind of unique. My hypothesis on this is that it was an original hand dug well with a windmill at one point, maybe. And then in the 60s or so, they sunk all these tiles down in it so that they wouldn't have to worry about the walls caving in and stuff, and they could put a modern well in it maybe. But no one really knows. I asked the last 3 owners of the property that have owned it back through like the early 80s, and no one really knows. So
I didn't realize it was that big of a opening getting down there. You make sure that you keep that safed off so you don't have a Baby Jessica event happen at your house.
Yeah, right. Well, there's a big concrete like lid that goes over the opening to access it. So, and
when
like
I hear about all those, I think of serial killers. Like that's where you just hide the bodies.
Well, so the first few times I went down in it, I'm super freaked out because I'm thinking the whole thing goes down. You drop down 5 feet and there's a concrete / dirt floor, and then there's that 4 inch opening in the middle, and then you can see it open real big under that opening. And my thought was that, well, it's 4 foot wide tube all the way down, and you're standing on this like couple inches of concrete. I'm like, how this was put in like 50 years ago, 60 years ago. I'm like, how, like I weigh over 260, 70 pounds, something like that. I'm like, how is that going to hold, over that time? Is there even rebar in that concrete? So I put on a full on safety harness that like construction worker safety harness, and I harnessed to the back of my Suburban. so I'm thinking.
So if you fall in, hit the gas and drive me out.
Yeah, exactly.
You rip your upper body, you rip your shoulders apart. You're getting reconstructive surgery.
Yep. God, I think I'd be worried about snakes and spiders down in there. That'd freak me out more than anything.
Oh, there was nothing. It wasn't bad. So it's fixed, and now I know like the insides and outs of this very unique well setup, so I can fix it again in the future. No problem. And it's got brand new wire going down to it. So
do you have a way to manually pump it if you need to?
Well, that's the cool thing about this style well is I could sink in another tube, PVC tube all the way down and have a hand pump, one of their survival hand pumps they sell on the survival prepping sites, and have a hand pump well all the time. So I might do that at some point just to have it. So we would always have water no matter what.
That's a good idea. Get that coming.
My water just turns on when I turn the faucet on.
I know. Yeah.
Till the apocalypse happens.
Yeah. Then I go to start the raiding. Pump. Yeah, but then I start the raiding crew.
You can only raid so much bottled water, Zach.
Mad Max says differently. You have convoy trucks.
Yeah, have you seen the newest one? Fury Road
didn't work so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't work out so well for them, but okay. Well, Aaron wanted to come on for a main topic. What do we got?
So, Aaron, you held like some kind of shooting competition at your place, is that right?
Yeah. So
is that your house? I didn't get that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, is on my property. So I've got 43 acres out here, and it's basically like a quarter mile by quarter mile, give or take. And I thought it would be fun. I've got a berm that we had built up when we first moved in that I shoot against, but I was like, you know what? I like shooting longer range than just standing 30 yards away and blasting away at plywood. Maybe I'll have some friends out. So I reached out to some friends and we ended up having 14 shooters come out to my place, and we shot 100 yards, 200 yards, and 400 yards with anything you wanted to shoot. And then we went back to the 100-yard mark and we shot iron sights at 100 yards. And I thought it'd be fun to shoot pistol at 100 yards. That didn't work out so well. Pistol at 100 yards wasn't that good. I thought it wouldn't be too bad because I can hit steel 40% of the time with a pistol, 8-inch gong at 100 yards. But
were you shooting on paper for that, for groups?
Yeah. So what I did was rather than doing like a bullseye competition where you count the rings or whatever, I thought, well, let's just do an MOA thing. That way it kind of helps show what your grouping is. You don't have to focus so much on the bullseye. And then we also had a giveaway for because I did some prizes. I did some cool trophies. I did prize for whoever had their tight grouping closest to the bullseye also. So that kind of mattered, but it didn't matter as much as your MOA mattered from the different ranges. So it was pretty fun. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I won 2 out of the 3 long distance ones. I won the 200 yard and the 400 yard. So next time I have this event, I'll compete, but I won't be allowed to get the trophy. I was a little embarrassed by that.
It's home court advantage. Why would you be embarrassed? It's home court advantage, and you get to game the system if you made the rules.
Well, you say home court advantage, but it's just a flat piece of land that's 400 yards long, so it's not that big of a deal. There's no real wind that happens, so there wasn't much that you had to take. You just had to point and shoot, and then know your bullet drop and go from there. So it wasn't much of a home field advantage, in my opinion, but the MOA scoring rather than the bullseye scoring, I think helped me win because my scope. I changed bullets at the last minute and I didn't change my scope, so my bullets were high every single time. So I went from a 143 grain to a 140 grain in my 6.5 Creedmoor. So
that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
So, interesting. What were you shooting?
So actually, I talked to you about this last time I was on. I mentioned it's been over a year now, but I mentioned that I was looking to buy a 6.5 Creedmoor, and I was talking to you guys about it, and you suggested a Bergara, so I ended up getting a Bergara B14 Ridge. Nice. I wanted something with a thicker barrel and threaded for the purpose of shooting suppressed, and so it's just kind of my fun long-range gun / hunting rifle. I took a deer last fall with it. In fact, it's deer season right now, and they aren't showing up on my property. So I'm a little bummed out about that. Maybe because I have a shooting event here.
Which barrel length did you get on that Ridge?
I think it's a 24.
24. I just ordered, well, not just the last month or so, I ordered a Bridge SP, the 18.5 inch or 18-inch version that's threaded for 6.5. They said it was in stock when I ordered it, but then when I actually paid and then did it, I was like, hey, where's that gun? They're like, oh, that might have been allocated other orders. And I was like, well, you told me it was in stock. So I've been waiting on that gun for a while, but that was the theory there, was to keep it all stock and just put a can and a scope on it. I already have the scope and everything just to make a lightweight hunting rifle, because my Bergara HMR Pro has gotten a little out of hand, and I think it's almost 18 pounds now. So it is a bench only gun.
Yeah. I talked my coworker into getting an HMR. I can't remember what he bought his in as far as what bullet or what caliber, but yeah, he bought an HMR, and then he's like, I should have bought the Pro, and yeah.
I think it's fine. They're both fine. It just what depends on what matters to you or not.
22. He bought it in 22-250 because he wanted a coyote gun. So yeah, I'm like, well, for shooting coyotes, you don't need to spend that extra money on the Pro. If it's only for blasting coyotes.
Exactly.
So,
cool.
Yeah, it was a good event. I only handed out trophies to the first place, but I let everybody know who came in first, second, and third. Chad Wallace from Guns and Gear. Is that the name of his podcast?
Guns and Gear Podcast, Firearms Insider.
Yeah. Thanks for knowing the whole title there for me. Chad came up. Chad lives an hour and a half or so from my place, so he came up and bringing it back to Patriot Patch here. He brought up a Mac 11, or he called it an M11, so it must be a Mac 11, and it was full auto. And he had it converted to 22 long rifle, and that was a lot of fun. That's the first full auto gun I've shot, and my wife shot it, and my 9-year-old son got to shoot it. So yeah, it was a family affair.
Was Ryan Cross at your event?
Ryan Cross was at my event too. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is making more sense now, because I saw on Facebook or somewhere he posted a video of him shooting a 22 Mac 10 or Mac 11, whatever. And okay, that makes much more sense now. It's all coming together. Cool.
Yep. Yeah. So Ryan Cross came. He lives maybe 3 hours from me. He came the night before, and I really tried to get him to sleep in my house somewhere, but he's like, I bought my truck. I've got this decked drawer system, and I'm just going to put an air mattress on top. I'm going to sleep in the I got a canopy. I'm going to sleep in it. I bought it for that purpose. I'm like, all right. And I'm helping him set up his air mattress at like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm like, wait a minute, how long is the bed of your truck? He's like, it's 5.5 feet. And I'm like, I think you're taller than 5.5 feet. And he's like, hey, it's no problem. I'll just sleep at an angle. I'm like, I like sleeping in the fetal position anyway. I don't think you're going to fit, dude. And then the next morning I meet him outside of his truck when he's climbing out. And I was like, so how'd it go? He's like, I should have listened to you.
Yeah. That's funny. He should have left the back window open and put his legs out the back or something.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. So it was a good time. Yeah, he stayed the night before. We jumped in the hot tub at like 10:15 and we got out at 12:30. And we just guns talk for 2 hours in the hot tub. It was a
naked gun talk. That's super awkward.
I didn't say naked, but use your imagination. Yeah, the iron sights part, I thought we would do better with the iron sights at 100 yards also. A lot of people didn't have guns that had iron sights, so I loaned out my wife's is it a Winchester Model 94 lever gun? And it's in 32 special. So I held it up to 30-30 and they look identical. So I'm assuming it's the same as a 30-30, but just with a slightly bigger bullet. But that was fun. Had, I think, 4 different people shoot that gun. My neighbor came in first place on that. My wife came in second place on the iron sights. And then later that night when I was showing off how good my wife was shooting, I realized that I scored hers wrong and she actually came in first place and my neighbor came and I let her know, and she's like, well, don't tell our neighbor. I don't want him to feel bad that I outgunned him. So
were these bench shooting at 100 on the irons or freehand?
Yeah. So everything was bench shooting. And one of the guys that came out as a local police officer, he's like, we're going to do this again next month, right? And I'm like, I was going to make it a yearly event, not a monthly event, but maybe I can do it more than once a year. So I think the next one I'll do like a hunting only, and no, you can't do any bench resting. So you could bring like a monopod or a bipod that's handheld sticks or something, or I might like drive a post in the ground so you can like pretend you're leaning up against a tree or something like that. So I think it'd be fun to do that. Someone suggested doing like a kids tournament where you get kids out there and do the shooting. I could see a pistol event where we just do pistol from different ranges or things like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to do some more and have some more fun with that.
Well, that's pretty cool. Did everybody knew that was competing? They knew about it ahead of time. Did they all come with their dope all set up, or did you have a lot of people come unprepared?
Oh, almost everybody came unprepared. So I think the next shooting event, I'll be like, okay, here, show up at 8 a.m. From 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. you sight in your gun, or from 10 to noon you sight in your gun, and then from 12 on is the competition. So yeah, that was kind of frustrating because I wanted to start at noon and we didn't start until about 1 o'clock. No, I wanted to start at 11:30 and we didn't start about till almost 1 o'clock. So it took about 4 hours to cycle through everything. We did 4 shooters at a time. I've got, at the end of my range, I've got 4 4x4s sunk into the ground with a sheet of plywood between 2 and a sheet of plywood between the other 2. So I've got a 4x8 and another 4x8 target area. So I was able to set up enough targets. And I didn't know how everybody was going to shoot, so I only did 2 shooters on plywood at a time. I could probably do 3, probably even 4. I just was afraid that if their grouping was too wild, that we wouldn't know who's shooting what.
And then did you have to run down and score them, or were you scoring it off of like a spotting scope?
No, we retrieved the paper every time and put up new paper every time. So there was a lot of back and forth. I told my wife that now I'm going to need a side-by-side because it's just a lot of travel.
Yeah, for business. It's a business.
No, you just need to dig a pit in front of the targets and have your kids stay down in the pit.
Yeah.
Well, that would have been disastrous because there was some long streaks in the grass before the targets where some people weren't quite making it to the targets sometimes. There was one that was probably 15 feet long. So, yeah, that wasn't very good.
That target backer, that was for your 100-yard target. So what did you do for the other yardages? Did you move the shooting position back, or did you have other targets somewhere else?
Yeah, we moved the shooting position. So a few days prior to the event, I went down there with some of that plastic surveyor's tape that you see in the forest hanging on trees. And it's like 1 inch wide or something. I put 2 tent stakes in the ground about 30 feet apart and ran surveyor's tape between them at the 100, 200, and 400 yards. That way we know how far out it was. And I had a pickup truck with a flatbed trailer, and we'd throw all the shooting benches and chairs and tables and stuff on that and drag it to the next and unload, reload kind of thing. So, okay, yeah. Cool. And everybody parked in that area. And so everyone's cars would move to the next one. Then everyone's cars would move to the next one rather than walking or shooting past cars. And then we went from 400 back to the 100 yard. It reminded me of the Mad Max Fury Road because it was just like where all the cars are spread out driving across the flatlands. Yeah, it totally looked like Mad Max going on just with modern vehicles. So
you're in a flat part of Oregon. I thought Oregon was all hilly and mountainy.
Well, it's my field. We do hay crop out of it. We lease it for hay, and so it's pretty flat. Yeah, that section is pretty flat. Yeah,
and then all these people then, or are you worried about like having to get waivers and stuff like that for future events?
The only person I didn't know was the police officer, and I was trying to introduce myself to him over the past 4 months since I had listed the event going to be happening. And it was a private event. I invited people. And I said, if you want to bring a friend or something, just let me know ahead of time and I'll probably be cool with it. So I think there was only 2 people that I didn't know that showed up besides the police officer that were brought by a friend.
I don't know. Sounds like the police officer may have been there to observe the militia training going on.
I was going to say, are you sure he's not a undercover cop?
So what was funny was like, he was in the first group we did 3 groups of 4, and he was in group 1, and he's like getting into position. Then he like stands up and he's trying to hand somebody a cell phone so they could take pictures and video of him while he's shooting.
One of those guys.
Yeah. And that person apparently was shooting on the first go round too. And so he's like, I was the next guy standing there. He's turning, will you take some pictures for me? And I say, sure. Yeah. He said, okay, cause it's for documentation. What? Documentation for what? He's like, well, they told me to document it. And I'm like, who's they? And I never got an answer out of him. So all the pictures,
you might be part of a sting operation. I don't know if you know this.
All the pictures, I became his Facebook friend that next day, and all the pictures that people were taking of him ended up on his personal Facebook page. So I think that he just needed pictures of him.
That's what he wanted you to think.
It could be. I could be way over my head in this event here. So yeah.
You didn't show him your illegal sawed-off shotguns, did you?
Yeah.
That didn't go too well for the Ruby Ridge guy.
Yeah, so did he ask you to cut a barrel down for him?
Well, now that you mention it. Uh-oh.
Did he ask you how you feel about Kyle Rittenhouse?
No, he didn't. But he was the guy who suggested that we have it monthly. So,
well, yeah, that'll get him a promotion when he cracks this case. He's going to get a promotion out of it.
They told him to document it monthly.
Yeah. Huh. You should have been asking him if he was shooting on taxpayer funded ammo.
He definitely wasn't. He was shooting out of reloaded stuff. So he actually had to, it turns out he's only like 3 minutes from my house. He had to go home and get a different long gun because the bolt gun he was trying to shoot from, he said it was dialed in for like 1,000 yards and he couldn't get it. He bottomed out a scope. He couldn't get it on the plywood even. So I think he was the one shooting the lawn up with the big long streakers at the bottom. So yeah, he went back and got an AR-10 and competed with an AR-10.
You didn't think it was weird when he asked you to put up the target of the lady holding the baby? I mean,
yeah.
Huh.
So
it was
cool. It was a really good time.
What did you make trophies out of?
Let me grab one. I got one back here because I won 2 of them.
Oh, yeah. And your wife won one. Right? Oh, I guess no, I really got first place. That's right.
Yeah. So, just some wood that I milled down. I made a bottom and radiused some corners, and then I took a hole saw and cut a disc to be like a round target with one of those little 1-inch bullseye stickers in it. Couple 30. I'm pretty sure these are 30-06 shells, and then of course an Army man on top. Little rifle guy.
Did Ryan Cross win an event in that? Because I saw that picture somewhere, and I only thing I could think of is Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan Cross won one of these. He won the 100-yard rifle. So, and then he also won the tightest group closest to the bullseye. So he won twice. I won twice.
Was he shooting that? Was he shooting that Seekins Havoc that he's got?
Yes. Yep.
Cool. You should make a new one. The next set of things you should just put Velcro on and then just put a patch of the month on it.
Well, he actually brought some patches and some swag to give away, so that was kind of fun. That I was able to dump some stuff out on a table for people to grab. That
Jake, did you authorize?
He did what without my authorization?
Yeah. I think it was his personal stash. It wasn't company stuff.
Oh no, it's all business.
Sure. It's all business.
Yeah.
Well, that's
so
cool.
That was a good time.
So you're gonna make it monthly, or are you gonna?
I can't make it monthly, and I need to get through hunting season before I probably shoot again on my property because I don't want to scare all the wildlife away. At least before I get something. So because I've got so many acres, I'm afforded what's called a landowner use tag, landowner preference tag, something like that. And so we can get 2 deer, 2 does, and we can get 2 cow elk on our property. So a total of 4. And just this year, we're also able to get 2 bucks on our property, but buck season's only like 7 days long, and they don't come through here enough for me to spend the money to try to get a buck on my property. So.
Well, that's really cool. You can do elk. That's neat.
Yeah. we only filled one of the 2 elk tags last year. I saw him on my way to work, and I just started a new job, and it was like day 4 of my new job, and I saw him as I'm leaving early in the morning. I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't call into work sick or something to shoot an elk. That would be ethical. So
they probably
I called my brother-in-law and said, hey, come get one.
They'd probably understand it, though, being in Oregon.
Yeah, looking back on it now, I probably could have said something, but being a brand new guy, and I feel like they took a chance on me hiring me, so
it's all about
I wanted to.
It's all about the phrasing. You know, I nailed a deer on the way to work. I got to take care of this.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Because that morning, I saw it on the trail cam later after my brother-in-law got his elk. There were 27 elk in our field.
Whoa.
Just ridiculous. Yeah.
Wow.
Only one of them was a bull. All the rest were cows.
So you had one.
Yeah, but it's rare. They only come through like every 20 days or something.
Huh. Speaking of trail cams, Jake, do you have an update on your trail cam situation?
Still in the package here.
Yeah. Too busy pulling out wells.
Yeah, I'll get to it. Well, I've got 22 trees to plant. That's my next big project. We're putting in another windbreak here, and the 22 trees makes up just a small part of it. I figure over the next couple of years I need to buy like 200 trees.
Oh, wow.
Maybe more.
Can you just grow them from seed so you don't have to spend so much money buying trees?
I suppose. I don't know. I gotta set up someplace I can grow them. But I mean, we're lucky. We have quite a few trees around the house and a windbreak to the windiest side of our house from the second to previous owners. And there's probably 100 trees in that or more, probably more. And they said every single one of those they started from a seed. And it's pretty amazing. It's like 25, 30 years, and they're just gigantic now.
You know what makes the best windbreaks is multiple brand new shops.
Well, yeah, that
too. Yeah. Does it get really windy out there in South Dakota?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, especially in the winter. It can get pretty windy out of the northwest. So
yeah, nothing goes through except for like it whistles through all the monument and then it just swirls around
past their noses.
Yeah. Whistle. Huh. Well, that sounds cool. So what was the reason for this competition again? Like how did it come about?
I just enjoyed shooting long range. I love shooting. It's therapeutic to just go out and shoot some ammo, and that Bergara I got does really, really well. It shoots better than I can. I give all the credit to the gun, and it made me feel really good. And I'm like, well, if I can do this, I bet there's other friends out there that can do this too. Chad Wallace, he didn't do so well because he had some sort of thing flipped down on the front of his scope to add like 500 yards to his scope. So he had this thing flip down when he shouldn't have had it flipped down. The police officer, it sounds like he would have done better if he was able to get his scope dialed in. He just had some wrong scope rings or something, like the height was making it so he couldn't adjust it right. Some of the other guys are just hunters though, and an 8-inch group is plenty good because you're going to hit the vital organs, and that's all that matters. They aren't really that concerned about dialing it in as tight as we do. So
I think you need to get some sponsors for this thing and buy an RC car and put one of those foam does on it and then drive it out there at the range and see if people can hit it.
I wanted to do more. So we've got chickens. We get 24 eggs a day from our chickens. So I was going to hang an egg from a string, and whoever shot the egg wins 12 eggs or something like that. I mean, how much more country can you get than an egg shooting competition? I had a bunch
and the winner gets
tannerite. Yep. I had a bunch of tannerite that I'd planned to use. I didn't really have a good idea how it was going to get used. And then I bought these, let's see, who makes this?
When he said chickens, I thought he was going to say like take out some chickens so they can lower the egg production.
The egg production. No, we sell the eggs that we don't consume. So my wife's got like a jar. She's probably got like $80 in there. She's been saving all the cash up from. So selling eggs.
You paying taxes on that money?
Maybe that police officer
if Trump doesn't have to. If Trump doesn't have to, I'm not going to pay taxes either.
All right. Yeah, the eagle has landed. Yep.
So I bought these like clay targets, but they're only like 1 3/4 or 2 inches in diameter. They might be made by Daisy. I can't remember who makes them, but they're actual like clay pigeon material, but they're small discs. If they were a tiny bit smaller, you could probably use them in like the Catholic church where they give you the wine and the bread, the wafers. Yeah. But I planned to shoot those at a distance too, but we just ran out of time. But I got to just kind of come up with some fun things to shoot at to keep it entertaining. So it's not just paper, but
I haven't seen,
it was a good time.
I haven't seen those mini clays. Are they meant to be thrown or just set up, or what's the purpose?
Just set up. Yeah, they're just meant to be set up. So, I bought 2 different versions. One was a refill pack and the other one was the main pack that you get. And it came with, I think, 2 or 4, like these stakes that you shove in the ground, and it's got a little Y that you drop the clay into.
Yeah.
I also saw they had like this plastic thing where you could stack a whole bunch of them, like Connect 4, how they drop to the bottom, and you shoot one and then the next one will fall down and you shoot it and the next one will fall down, and you can stuff like 4 or 5 in there.
Well, I think we did episodes years ago about all fun things to shoot. I don't remember all the things, but there's an old episode somewhere on our feed.
Well, we used to have a make shooting fun segment every show.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay. Yeah, it's been so long. I don't remember.
We probably even talked about those. Completely forgot.
We're getting old, Aaron.
I found, what's that company? Caldwell or something like that.
Yeah,
Caldwell. They sell like a motorized shooting target, like a gallery that has steel plates on it. And then you shoot it and it knocks them down. And when it rotates down, it resets them and they come back up. I think it's 22 only though, right? I'm not sure. I didn't look at them that hard because they were sold out on Amazon and they were like $380 or something. So I was like, but that would be a fun thing. Actually, there's a gun shop less than an hour from me called Rich's Guns, and they have it's like the only live shooting gallery in the country where you shoot 22 shorts out of pump action Henrys or something like that. And all they do is they make you wear eye protection. You don't need hearing protection. And they've got a full gallery set up in this room with all the different targets to shoot down. And you pay for a 15-minute session and they give you a brick of ammo and you go to town in there.
Huh. Is everything on hinges so they can reset it quickly?
Yeah, there must be some way for them to reset it quickly. I've been to that place. I've shot in their range, but I haven't done that particular thing yet. So it seemed like it'd be a fun event for like a guy's trip or whatever.
I bet you could do an event, nighttime event with either nods or stuff like that, or even white lights would be kind of cool if you had enough people that you trusted, around the dark.
Yeah, funny you mentioned that. Ryan Cross brought some nods. I had some tracer rounds. He had some tracer rounds, and we did some tracer shooting. And got a phone call from one of the neighbors wondering what in the world was going on over at our property because we're shooting at nighttime. So some of it was suppressed and some of it wasn't. It was cool though. We used, I think the brand is called Streak that makes these like fake tracers. They actually did pretty good. I saw some reviews that weren't so pleasing, but they did pretty well. And we even had a moon out so you could still see some. And then I had some legit tracers, and those were way bright. Like as they went, it lit up the ground below them as they traveled.
Oh wow! What caliber were those?
Impressive. I was shooting 9, and Ryan was shooting 38s out of his lever gun.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. I think I paid like $1.50 a round though for the actual tracers. They were expensive, so.
That's a lot of money. But so would you suggest people that have acreage to do this, or is it more work than you would expect it?
It wasn't that much work at all, actually. I really suggest you have a good backdrop and know what's behind where you're shooting, because some people just go hog wild and just start plinking. I put my backdrop in a specific spot to make sure that if somebody went over or to left or right, that it's going to go through several bunches of trees and over a mile before it gets towards anybody's houses. So, and you'd have to shoot at a really bad angle to get towards a house. What took me the most, besides making the trophies, was just trying to come up with how I wanted to run the event and things like that. So, and because I'd never done it before, and I've never been to a shooting event, I've never been to the USCCA or whoever those people are, or NRA, NHRA, the National Hot Rod Association, whoever puts these events on for shooting. I've never been to any of them, so I don't know how they run them and stuff like that. So,
well, I can guarantee you there's waivers.
Yeah, I didn't have any waivers at the very beginning. I did say, we just need to make sure we trust each other and keep an eye on everybody. Keep the muzzles down range. And I said, I don't really feel like doing the range hot, range cold business. So let's just be safe. So yeah, it was good.
Well, that's cool. I mean, that's really cool that you've never even been to a competition and you decided to do it on your own. That shows a good spirit on it. And I'm glad it worked out for you.
I tried Googling information. There wasn't much information. Same with trophies. I don't know if they do for trophies at any of those events, but there's like no information on gun trophies. So I just had to wing it.
Very cool. Well,
I'm not a very creative person either.
Well, Patriot Patch has some pretty creative patches.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe you should make some trophies with Velcro next time, like Zach said. Just saying.
That's a good idea.
Check out the Patch of the Month Club over at patriotpatch.co. We also just dropped the September Patch of the Month was so popular, we did an alternative version called Rogue that we just dropped today. So it's available at patriotpatch.co. If you missed out on the September patch, we have a alternative version.
What's different about it? She got a shirt on, it looks like, but
she had a shirt on last time, right?
Yeah,
pretty sure.
Everything's darker. It's more subdued. The gun is all two-tone gray, where the other one was a desert tan. Her outfit is brown instead of, I think it was green.
Oh, that's why I thought it didn't have a shirt on, because it was the same color.
Oh, here you go.
Does that one glow in the dark too?
Side by side. This one is not glow in the dark.
Is that a choker collar she's wearing?
No. Why would you think
her
that?
Hair, isn't it? Her hair. Yeah, that's a cool patch, actually. My son saw that in my safe yesterday or day before and was like, I didn't see this one. I was like, you weren't home when I opened it up.
Very cool. Yeah, so check it out, patriotpatch.co. And also, we were just talking about him, Ryan Cross. If you need awesome artwork design, website design, check out Hunter of Design, Ryan Cross. He does all the awesome patch design for patriotpatch.co. And if you need awesome design for your brand, business, hobby, check out hunterofdesign.com. And as always, you can check out Zach's YouTube and Range Hop articles, links in the show notes. And once again, Aaron, where can people find the Off-Road Podcast?
Most of our stuff is on YouTube and Facebook, but you can also find us at the Firearms Radio Network if you want to check out our show notes.
Very cool. And you can reach us at gunguyradio@gmail.com. And don't forget to check out all the other awesome shows here on the Firearms Radio Network. Well, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Jake.
And thanks, Zach. Good show.
All right. Thanks.
That's a wrap. We'll see you next time.
This has been a production of the Firearms Radio Network. You can find more information at firearmsradio.tv.